Toy Tractor Times is here at the 2018 National Farm Toy Show in Dyersville, Iowa. We're here with Jacob Larson. Jacob placed third overall in the very competitive small scale display contest. Jacob, I'd really like to take a tour of your farm. It looks great, and hear the story.
Certainly. So this farm's actually based after a Red River Valley 1980s barley harvest crew.
So Red River Valley is kind of Minnesota, North Dakota area?
So kind of the three-state area where North and South Dakota and Minnesota reach all the way up into Canada. That's the Red River Valley.
Okay.
So it's a unique part of the world in that it has a little bit of row crop farming, like the Corn Belt, but also has the influences of more prairie farming. So you get your typical corn and beans, but then you also have your small grains and sugar beets and other more specialty crops.
So what do we have happening on this display? It looks kind of like a summertime harvest scene.
Yep, so this is, like I said, featured in the mid to late 1980s. So barley was a fairly big crop, both for beverage and food production. So having barley was a pretty big part in Red River Valley agriculture in the 1980s.
Okay. Well,
this crew is a harvest crew that was harvesting the barley for the farm. So the three 860s and the white Road Boss 2 trucks and the A-frame combine trailers are part of the crew.
So we've got the Massey Ferguson 860 with a windrow pickup here. Looks like he's finishing up this field. We've got the white Road Boss tandem axle dump truck, and it looks like the crew's kind of loaded up here on another trailer.
Yep, crew's wrapped up. They're headed out of the farm. They're just based out of harvesting this farm's crops, unloading the grain into the bins in the back.
Now, again, I can see that the trailers back there for the combines. This truck has the gates open. Is that where they put the headers? They slide a header inside there to go down the road? Or?
Yep, typically. So, granted, this crew has pickup heads which are too big to fit in the beds of the trucks, but typically, if you're, say, in the southern or central United States, say Kansas or Oklahoma, you'd be using a rigid straight cut header, and the crews would haul the headers in the beds of the trucks. But in a swather, so they didn't, it was, you could almost argue better than today in that they would just have the headers in the trucks. They didn't have as much stuff to haul around.
They've got quite a caravan to move when they're moving this harvesting equipment. Yep. So we've got this windrow attachment where the barley is cut, and let's go over here and talk about the actual windrowing process. So as the harvest takes place, before the combines can pick up the barley, it has to be windrowed, and it looks like we've got a Versatile Bi-Directional tractor here, which is very 1980s.
Yep, so in some older literature I saw this picture, and it had the bidirectional pushing a mounted 30-foot swather, and that was a pretty cool way that Versatile back in the 80s when they had new idea, and Versatile coming out with these one-size-fits-all tractor platforms that could do anything the farmer wanted. So the barley was typically swathed. It could be harvested directly in the combine, but it was often swathed and laid on the ground for a couple days for it to dry out before the combines came and harvested it.
Now, is this a Versatile 276 that I see?
Yep, so this is a Designation 6 series, so it's the second generation of the bidirectional of this chassis, so it's actually the third overall.
So this tractor's probably about 90 horsepower or so?
Yep, about 90 or 100 horsepower.
Okay. That's a Versatile swather head. They did Versatile, that's how they got started. It was making swathers, so looks great. And it looks like you used some kind of like a welcome mat to show your barley. And how did you make the windrows?
The windrows are static grass with some cardboard that I painted or brushed some Homer's glue on. Okay. Sprinkled the static grass on, and then when I was here, I spread it over to make it look a little bit more.
And you've got the drilled rows of stubble.
Yep.
It's been cut. It looks great. Now here's something I know that I've seen when I've gone through the Dakotas and up into Minnesota, is that no grass is left unharvested, and you've got round bales in the roadside ditches here.
Yeah, so that's something that's kind of unique to the Minnesota and Dakotas, where road ditches, it's big business. You bail your road ditches. So you'll take your mower conditioner or mower or whatever you have and go through your road ditches, cut your hay, and then you'll go through and bale it a couple days later. So it's a good way to not only keep your grass cut in your road ditches, but keep it nice and well maintained.
And then in 1987, we had Versatile was acquired by Ford, and we've got a Ford Bi-Directional coming down the road.
Yeah, and this is a dual mower setup. So when Ford New Holland, they offered the 1475 pull type hay head mower conditioner, and then they also had a mounted option for the bi-directional tractor also. So it's a way where you can harvest just under 30 feet of hay in one pass.
Nice. And which model bi-directional is this?
That's a 9030.
Okay, next generation after Designation 6.
Correct.
Very cool. And just to show some detail of the road, you have the mailbox hanging out there, the number of the farm here, the address, got the culvert underneath, power lines that run down, coming into the yard and connecting to the farm. So again, I want to try to take a look at this side. You can see an old moldboard plow tucked there into the fence row. And we can see the Massey combines here with the white trucks, and got a house trailer. It's pretty cool. Complete with a TV antenna before the days of satellite TV and Netflix and internet.
Got to remember with the trailer house, you got the pink flamingos out front.
Nice. That's definitely uptown. So we've got a Challenger on the farm as well. Which model is this?
It's a 65. It's the first generation, so it's the first two-track version that was made by Cat.
Introduced in 1987. And it looks like a Case International 496 disc.
Yep, that's correct.
And this Winnebago must be for the harvest crew?
For the harvest crew, yep. So the harvest crew will stay in the RV, and also they have an Airstream pulled behind the C60 gas truck, service truck.
Okay.
So that truck has all the fuel, all the tools, some spare tires.
So we also can look out here in the yard to some of the equipment used in raising barley. Looks like you have a heavy harrow.
Yep, that's actually called a Melrose multi-weeder.
Okay.
And it was common to apply stuff like Trekland and other herbicides in the spring.
And then you've got a FlexCoil air drill. So
yep.
This would have been one of the very early air drills coming to the market at that time.
That's a FlexCoil 5000.
How many feet wide would this have been?
That would be about a 38 feet.
Okay. And you built all these pieces?
That's actually a 3D printed kit. That's the only thing that I haven't designed and built on this.
And here's a classic Steiger trailer disc. And these were 45 feet wide and used for big tillage. And then a Case International field cultivator.
Yep, that's a 4600. It's about 52 feet.
Now here's a really cool thing, again, right out of that bi-directional brochure, is powering the grain auger with it. Very versatile tractors.
Yeah, so it's bi-directional, unloading into a petrol auger, which is loading the barley from the field into the bins.
And there's the bin being filled. I've never seen that before. That's really cool. What did you use for your barley?
That's actually celery seeds from the spice aisle in your grocery store.
Very cool. And then how do you use a pipe cleaner and glue that to it?
Yeah, that's a pipe cleaner that I rubbed Elmer's glue on and then dipped it in the celery seeds and glued it in.
We've got the tall grass around the bins. And is that a Ford 276 there?
Yeah, that is a 276 Ford.
Then we come around, you talked a little bit about the row crop before being in the region, and we have one of the original Kinsey corn planters here in the barn.
Yep, so that's a 24-row, 22-inch Kinsey Rurfold planter, used typically for sugar beets in this case.
And looks like a cab over truck here.
Yep, white Freightliner cab over with a 22-foot grain bed on the back.
And then we've got a white Field Boss here in the building.
That's a 2180 that I had built. Front wheel assist. We're putting on some duals, ready for some fall work.
And it looks like another truck up here.
Yeah, that's a Ford Louisville 9000 with a 22-foot service bed, and that's used for hauling sugar beets in the fall.
Some drill presses and tools, and it looks like impact guns maybe.
Yep. Got a welder and air compressor with a hose reel, some oil barrels, some crates, toolbox, garbage can.
Well, lots of nice detail, and I like how you can look through the doors of the barn with the windows. So now after the combines have harvested everything and it's time to get ready for next year's, we did a live stream on Toy Tractor Times YouTube, and the most commented piece of all the displays we toured was this Ford 270 white farm equipment 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, that started life out as a scale models Ford 270 from the 80s. If you're familiar with them, they're pretty rough, not a whole lot of detail. I detailed it up, used some parts from Ertl tractors, used some scratch build parts, used some...
Yeah, they didn't even have a seat in them. They were just an open, empty cab, no steering wheel or anything. That's right. And then North Dakota, Wishick, North Dakota, they build heavy discs there. And you've got the Wishick offset.
Yep, so this would have been one of the first Wishick discs built. It doesn't look big today, but in the late 80s, that was as big as it was in the 80s as current Wishick disc looks today. It's an 18-foot with 26-inch blades.
You'll definitely turn over some ground with that.
Definitely.
I like how you have the waterway cut away between the fields and some rocks to slow it down and filter it out. Well, Jacob, thank you for the tour of this great display. You're doing an awesome work, and always enjoy seeing what you bring out to the shows.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.